Hello there, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to be talking about what to buy first on a budget if you're playing X-Wing 2nd Edition and you're getting started with the Scum and Villainy faction. Now this is going to be primarily geared towards newer players, and this will obviously have a lot of my own personal opinion in here, but hopefully this will steer you right. Also, I want to thank my sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. They have amazing full metal tokens for X-Wing as well as a lot of other games. These are all double-sided, they're painted, they're detailed exquisitely, they're absolutely fantastic. They come in a variety of shades, including the new black visor shade. Really, really nice. Gorgeous tokens. I've got some reviews of them. Also, if you want to see more, check out my reviews of them, but also go to luxuryplaystyle.com. You can save 15% if you use code Crabbok VIP. All right, so we're going to be talking about the Scum and Villainy faction for X-Wing 2nd Edition. If you're getting started in this game, the first thing you need to do is pick a faction. If you're on a budget, you're not going to be able to just afford all 7 factions. Yes, folks, there are 7 factions for this game, and unfortunately, if you're playing Scum and Villainy, well, that's not really the cheapest faction to play, primarily because, well, the starter does not come with any Scum and or Villainy ships. It comes with an X-Wing and 2 TIE fighters, neither of which you can use. And so that's kind of a bummer. So that's why a lot of people who do play tend to also play a little bit of Rebels or a little bit of Imperials also because, well, those were the first factions in the game, and you're also getting stuff in the starter, so you probably have some stuff on hand if you want to play locally or play against somebody else. And usually when you're starting out, a lot of people will just get the core set and they'll play that X-Wing versus 2 TIE fighters on their kitchen table and kind of get a feel for the game. But maybe you've decided you want to branch out and you want to play the Scum and Villainy. So what I'm going to be talking about is the ship expansions that I think you should buy first. I'm going to kind of rank them in order, and I'm going to really focus on just the ships that are available in 2nd edition expansions right now. And the reason for that is there's a lot of ships out there. There's a lot of ships, but I don't want people buying a whole bunch of new 1.0 stuff. If you are able to get a bunch of 1.0 stuff, which is the old gray boxes, they don't have the black finish like this, you can get a conversion kit. A conversion kit is going to take your entire 1.0 collection of Scum and Villainy ships and update those into 2nd edition. And this is going to actually get you a lot of stuff. It's about $50, so it's not usually worth it unless you have a lot of 1.0 stuff. I'm not going to tell you exactly, where the breaking point is because it's going to be different for a lot of people. And maybe you have somebody that's going to sell you like their old 1.0 collection, and that sounds great and everything, but keep in mind you're also going to have to, if you buy that, you're also going to have to buy a conversion kit to be at least one, and if it's a larger collection, you might need multiple conversion kits. So and if that's the thing, if you're a 1.0 player, you've got a bunch of Scum and Villainy stuff, probably worth it. Go ahead and pick up a conversion kit because, hey, it's a great value. You're getting a whole lot of cards, a whole lot of basically a new experience with your 1.0 stuff. But then again, some people didn't like that aspect, which is why maybe you'll be able to find a 1.0 collection for sale on Facebook or Reddit or eBay or something like that. But the rest of this video, we're going to primarily talk about what you need to get started. So naturally, the first thing you need is you're going to need a core set. A core set is going to have your rules. It's going to, granted, the rules are available online also, but it's going to have your measurement tool, your movement templates, your asteroid, your obstacles, just things that you need to play the game. Your damage deck, all of that. Now, granted, those items, it's even have dice, right? Those items are available in other places. You can buy a lot of that stuff a la carte, but honestly, it's still a better value just to get the core set. A lot of those individual things that you can buy individually end up costing a lot more, and so if you buy all the stuff individually, like, all right, I got my deluxe maneuver templates from Fantasy Flight, and I got this pack that has all the asteroids in it, and I know I have enough to play. You're going to end up spending more than you would spend in a core set. And well, if you're on a budget, you're probably just better off going with the cheapest option. And chances are you might even be able to find the core set on sale. A lot of places, especially for the time of X-Wing 1.0, when there were lots and lots of core sets, would mark them down quite a bit because, hey, they want to get people started on their games. You're probably going to be able to find the core set for a decent sale. So next up, your first ship expansion after you have the core set and you've got the stuff that you've already kind of played a little bit. You probably have played at least one game or so before starting out with Scum, but I'm going to suggest Lando's Millennium Falcon as your first buy. Now, this is a more expensive expansion. And so you're probably thinking, well, wait. Why if I'm on a budget, why are you suggesting one of the more expensive ships? Well, that's a great question. There's a couple of reasons for that. There's at least why I suggest this one first. But before I give you those reasons, I want to preface a lot of what I'm going to say with, if there's something that you really want, if you've got your heart set on something, if you really don't like Lando's Millennium Falcon, you don't like the Millennium Falcon, you don't want any of that, you want the Slave One first or whatever because you think it's cool, then I think you should absolutely do that. This game is about having fun. In all of my videos, I tell people, if there's something that I suggest you buy really like last, but you really want it, then you should buy it first. So, your fun factor is going to be the most important thing here. So if you are in love with any particular ship, that certainly drives it up to the top of the charts as far as I'm concerned. But I can't predict what you're going to love. I really only know what I love. And and I do love the Millennium Falcon. This is a great model, a great version of it. It's the version from Solo, a Star Wars story. And what's cool about that is that it actually has that escape craft in the front, which is removable, which is so cool. And one other thing that's cool about that is that can be flown as a separate craft, or it can be docked with this particular ship. And this is why I think this is actually not such a bad purchase if you're on a budget, because you are actually getting 2 flyable ships in this particular expansion. Now, you can run them docked together, but I mean, first off, you're getting a super cool looking ship. You're getting something very thematic, because you're going to have Lando and you're going to have Han Solo in here, and you can run Han Solo as a gunner on the Millennium Falcon with Lando and all of that cool stuff. You're getting a lot of stuff from Solo, a Star Wars story. So if you hated that movie, then maybe you pass on this one. Yeah, that's certainly a viable option. But the other thing is the big ships, like this is a large ship. The big ships also tend to favor newer players a little bit in some cases, because it's a turreted ship. So you can kind of fly around in circles and point the turret inward, and it doesn't require quite as much precision moving. So that much helps. But also, it's very recognizable. It's going to be something that people see on your tabletop and they're like, oh, like, what are you guys playing? So like, that's also another really cool factor of this ship. And for the price of 2 ships, you're getting a really recognizable ship, and then you're getting the docking base. You're actually, or the escape craft. So you're actually getting 2 ships, and it kind of balances out as far as value there too. Another thing that's actually cool about this one is this was the first brand new ship in X-Wing 2nd Edition. This was the first ship that didn't have any 1.0 conversion stuff, so even older players who have an older collection and they're buying the conversion kit will still probably want to pick this one up, because not only is it a new ship that won't be found in the conversion kit, but it also comes with new upgrades that won't be found in the conversion kit. So there is that. Next up, I would suggest maybe the Fang Fighter. I really, really like the Fang. This is your Mandalorians. And hey, Mandalorians are really hot right now, right? With the Mandalorian show and Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars and all of that stuff. The Mandalorians are awesome. Now, this one is going to be a different style of flying. This is a small ship. It hits really, really hard. I think these are super fun to play. I think they're very, very fun to play. You may want a couple of them. This was one of my favorite ships out of the Scum and Villainy faction to fly in 1.0, and it still carries that over into 2.0 as being a really fun ship to play. Now, another cool thing about this particular expansion is that they upgraded this one in 2nd Edition. A lot of these ships also existed in 1st Edition, and when they've reprinted them in 2nd Edition with the black box as opposed to that gray background that you would have seen in 1st Edition, a lot of them got a repaint or some kind of other improvements. In this ship's case, it actually swivels around. So this one can actually, you have that cockpit, and then the wings kind of move around the cockpit much like they do in Star Wars Rebels. So this is a super cool ship as far as that aspect too. So even 1.0 players may still want to pick up a Fang Fighter because it's upgraded. So it's really cool. It's like just such a cool miniature on top of that. So I really like that. Next up, I'm going to suggest the Slave One. The Slave One is going to be a medium-based ship here, and it's going to make it cost a little more than the small ships like the Fang Fighter. But at the same time, while you're only going to get 1 ship out of this expansion, it's a chunky ship. It's a very effective ship. It's a very good ship to fly, and it's the Slave One. So, like, this one may be first on your list for a lot of people. Like I was talking about, Mandalorians are really popular right now, and we can argue about whether Boba Fett is a Mandalorian or not. I actually think they're going to eventually address that in the show. But this ship is incredibly iconic, incredibly recognizable, and just similar to the Millennium Falcon. This is one of those ships that people are going to want. When I first got into X-Wing, the first purchases I made was a core set, the Millennium Falcon, and the Slave 1. And that was back in 1.0 time. But yes, the Slave 1 expansion, awesome. And it's a slightly repainted version of the original Slave 1 also, so you're going to get a little bit upgraded kind of look to it. A lot of these, they painted the engine glow in these, and so you get a couple of small improvements, but overall it's not like a huge change. If you've got the 1.0 version already, it's not that big of a difference. Next up, cheaper fighter, the Z95 Headhunter. Now, the Z95 is one of those ships that exists in multiple factions, but here, in this re-release in 2.0, the Z95 has a really cool new paint job, and they gave it a Black Sun paint job. Now, that's really going to appeal to a lot of the older fans, a lot of people who know what Black Sun is. If you're old like me and you read, about Prince Zizor and Dash Rendar back when we were young, I'm not going to say how old. I don't want to date myself here too much, but yeah, like Black Sun, that was my first introduction to Black Sun. So it was really cool to see. There are actually quite a few Black Sun paint jobs that you're going to find in the Scum and Villainy faction, because Black Sun is one of those things that's represented in the Scum and Villainy faction. So that's actually something that I think is kind of cool. And also, it's a cheap fighter that actually fits into a lot of lists. A lot of people will sometimes run swarms of Z95s. And a matter of fact, this can work pretty well with one of the pilots of the Slave 1. So there are combinations where a Z95 or 2 will fit very nicely with a Slave 1 in a list. And so that is also another reason that they're kind of cool. But I do like the Z95. And it's got some really cool pilots in the Scum and Villainy faction. If you want to have it by itself and just have it be like a flanker, that works that way too. Next up is a more expensive purchase. This is, I think, the biggest ship in Scum and Villainy right now, because it's the Houndstooth. And that it's also an expensive pack. I think it's a $50 ship if you get it MSRP. But what's cool about this one is it comes with, again, you're getting two things in this one, which is nice. It's also recognizable if you recognize the Bounty Hunter's ships. The Houndstooth is a little bit more recognizable because it appeals to the classic fans, but it also appeals to people who have seen it in the Clone Wars as well. But you're going to be getting the Houndstooth, which is Bosk's ship. Again, a lot of Scum and Villainy players love the Bounty Hunter ships. The Bounty Hunter ships were in demand for a long time until they finally came out in 1.0, and people rejoiced. And this is a really big, chunky ship. This one actually is not too terrible for new players to fly also, because it's so big and can take so many hits. It's a little bit more forgiving if you accidentally get shot at point blank range. But it also comes with an extra Z95. And the cool thing about this one is the Z95 that this one comes is really kind of originally designed to be an escape craft. It's the Nashta Pup, which was an escape craft that you could deploy once the Houndstooth was destroyed. But in second edition, they decided they wanted to give you the option to field the Nashta Pup from the get-go. And so it comes with a new Bosk pilot card for the Z95. Now, the cool thing about that is that is not found in the conversion kit, for example. So that Bosk pilot, now you can find him in a Hot Shots and Aces pack, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So if you don't want to buy this, that's not the only way that you can get Bosk as a pilot for the Z95. But if you're a new player starting out, which I'm assuming that you are, if you've made it this far, one of the cool things about having a second Z95 Headhunter, but also, by the way, with a new paint job that kind of corresponds to, that's thematic for Bosk and his Nashta Pup, is that now you've got two Z95s. And with all of these expansions, you're getting multiple pilots and cardboard dials and accessories for each. So, with just one Z95, you had 4 pilots. Well, here you're getting another pilot. So now you've got 5 pilots and 2 ships. So you can try a whole bunch of different list ideas out. And it's really kind of building off of stuff you may already have. So if you've already bought a Z95, Houndstooth is actually a pretty good deal for you if you're a new player starting out, because you're getting an extra ship that you can use. It's pretty cool. And now you can mix and match pilots and come up with different teamwork and synergies. So I kind of that's why I put this one up here. All right, next up is the M3A Interceptor. I really love this ship, but I think this one is maybe it's better if you have played a little bit more, because this one can be really, really squishy and isn't quite as cheap. So it's a little bit, when you lose one of these, and when one of these gets one-shotted, it hurts a little bit more. So, but I do love these ships. I think they're the new paint job that came on these is awesome. It's also that Black Sun paint job, and so again, if you're a big fan of the Black Sun, and this may be one of you might buy this one a little bit sooner. You might kind of prioritize what you want to buy because of that. But I really like the M3A Interceptor. There's a lot of really nice Scum and Villainy pilots that you're going to find here. And it's just a cool, fun ship to fly. Very fast, very fragile, but can potentially pack a punch depending on how you want to outfit it. This one actually has a lot of different ways you can gear it up and can perform multiple different roles. And so it's a pretty cool ship. I really like the M3A, and I actually own quite a few of them. Next up, the Punishing One. It's a little bit larger ship, and it's not necessarily one of the cheaper ships, because usually the prices for these are generally according to size. But this one, you're only getting the one ship, and much like with the Slave One, you're only getting one ship there. But in this one's case, this is a much less recognizable ship than the Slave One. The Punishing One is Dengar's ship, and while this may have been one of the first things you should have bought for a time in X-Wing 1.0, because this ship came out and it just exploded with how overpowered it was, and how people were running 3 of these and just having unstoppable lists. The ship has been since been nerfed tremendously and is a lot more balanced right now. So it's not a bad ship, but it's less recognizable, and I feel like it's less powerful. So it's maybe something, and it's got this asymmetric dial, and it's going to be probably something a little bit more advanced. So I think this is probably a better, unless of course you want to run bounty hunters specifically, then absolutely, maybe you want to go for this one sooner. But I think most people are probably not going to recognize the Punishing One. While some people may know who Dengar is, not everybody knows his ship. So this one might have a little bit less table presence, and flying it I feel like is a little more advanced. Last up for the regular ship expansions that are available right now is the Mining Guild TIE. I'll be honest with you. I think it's ugly. It was only really in one episode of Star Wars Rebels. It's not going to be very recognizable, and might even confuse people if you're new and you're getting into the game and you're teaching your friends and family how to play. People might think you're running Empire, right? Because it's a TIE fighter. Why does Scum and Villainy have TIE fighters? And the joke that was going on with X-Wing for a while is that everybody started to get a TIE fighter, because even the Rebels had a TIE fighter from Star Wars Rebels when Sabine had kind of spray painted the one. But I feel like this one is, like, one of the things that Scum and Villainy does is sometimes they will borrow things from different factions, and they get access to different things that different factions would have, like a cloaking device that's an illicit slot, and and then a TIE fighter here. And so I feel like this one is probably better for once you've got everything else, because this is borrowing a little bit of the Imperial playstyle with that TIE fighter. And I wouldn't recommend it as one of your first things. But then again, if you like it, if maybe your favorite color is yellow, maybe you like the Empire, maybe you liked that from the core set and you wanted something that you were going to be familiar with, then by all means, maybe this would be one of your first buys, because sometimes familiarity is important. I just think it's ugly. It looks like Pac-Man to me. Eating all your tokens. And so, again, this list has some of my bias included on it. Now, there are other things besides, the regular ship expansions available. You may at some point want to pick up Hot Shots and Aces. Now, Hot Shots and Aces is going to have a bunch of cards that may not have all come with the ships that you got. Sometimes specific factions and specific ships will come with some unique upgrade cards that weren't available anywhere else. And this was meant to address that. So you're going to gain access to certain upgrades and cards that you wouldn't necessarily have access to. And so that's great. Plus, or if they're ones you did have access to, maybe it's extra copies of them. And that's certainly good. You're also going to gain access to some new pilots. And so, if you didn't have the Bosk pilot already, like I was saying before, this would give you access to the Bosk pilot. This is also going to give you another Jumpmaster pilot and another another M3A Interceptor pilot as well. So the Hot Shots and Aces is a cool pack, no doubt about that. There's also if you're getting, and there's also other packs too, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you want all the bombs, there's a bombs pack. There's if you want there's a lot of extra little packs like that. They're cardboard packs, we call them. But there's a big one called Epic Battles. This one, once you've gotten all the ships and you're really comfortable with the game and you want to try some other things out, Epic Battles is a really fun expansion that is going to give you the ways to basically. It has a wing tool. You can fly like lots of. If you want to get like 4 Z95 headhunters and fly them all like as a wing, as a single unit with one command, and has tools for you to be able to do stuff like that. Has a lot of different scenarios you can play, things just to keep the game a little extra fun, and that could be fun. Again, this is something much later in the game, and if you really like the bigger boards and the big epic battles and getting multiple people involved, maybe you want to consider Epic. The Sea Rock Cruiser, it is a ship, but it's an epic ship, so you wouldn't be able to run this in a regular tournament game. Not everybody is a tournament player, but that's something to consider. I probably wouldn't recommend getting this one just yet. And it really is going to depend on your area, on your store, and what's available to you, because this is a $100 ship. Now, I will point out, when the Sea Rock came out in X-Wing First Edition, I believe it was cheaper than $100. It's certainly a lot cheaper now. I've seen them as low as $30. But here's the thing. The X-Wing 1.0 Sea Rock also came with an M3A interceptor, and it's the same miniature. Right, and as a matter of fact, I think the only difference is that the engine glow isn't. I didn't even buy this one because it's $100 and it's ridiculous when you can buy Sea Rocks for like $20 and $30. Some stores around me had so many of them, they were overflowing with them, and they were practically giving them away. So I wasn't gonna do that. The better bet is if you can find a cheaper Sea Rock, and maybe consider getting the huge ship conversion kit. And this is going to be more. Now, like the huge ship conversion kit is primarily for people that had huge ships, which are like the capital ships that they made for X-Wing. And this is, again, these are all expensive, so this is not for beginner stuff. But the huge ship conversion kit has 2 different new upgraded huge ship bases and all the cards and everything you need to play huge ships for every huge ship that's available. All right, so all the stuff, all the cards and everything that come in the Sea Rock is also in here. Really, the only thing in here that you're not going to get in the huge ship conversion kit is the miniature itself. And so you might be able to, if you can get a huge ship conversion kit and a Sea Rock from 1.0 for the same price or less, it's better off doing that, because then you're also going to get an extra M3A interceptor that you can field, and so you're getting just better value with the 1.0 version, I feel like. So I really kind of don't recommend the 2.0 Sea Rock, because it's just like I don't get it, like with so many 1.0 Sea Rocks out there. Now, again, that all depends on your situation. Maybe your store is sold out of 1.0 Sea Rocks, or maybe you're watching this in the future when everybody's bought up all the rest of the supply, and then there's really no need anymore. In which case, maybe you just go with this. But this is a time where it's going to depend on your situation. And again, huge ships, not for somebody on a budget. You're not going to be able to play them all the time, but they are fun when you can. Scum really only has access to one, though, so the factions that do better with huge ships are the Rebels and the Empire, because they have access to the most huge ships. Alright guys, well that is my list of what to buy first one on a budget for the Scum and Villainy faction. If you're playing different factions, I have videos for the other factions as well. And if I don't have a video yet for the faction that you are looking for, stay tuned, because it just might show up. So you may want to click subscribe and click that bell in order to be notified when new videos come out. Also, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to follow me on social media, I've got links for other things down in the description below. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons on Patreon as well. You guys are amazing and definitely help keep this channel running. Also, big thanks to Luxury Playstyle for sponsoring the video. Thank you so much, and as always, have a great day.